So the blessed life, the happy life, the prosperous, fruitful life arises by dealing with these things. And so with that, all three categories are addressed. Verses 3 and 4. When I kept silent, my bones wasted away through my groaning all day long, for day and night your hand was heavy upon me. My strength was dried up as by the heat of summer. So when I kept silent, when I closed my mouth, when I didn't deal with all of this stuff, I became, let's just say as a summary statement, spiritually, emotionally, and physically limited. I became vapid. My life went sideways, and prosperity of soul and body could not come to me. Financial prosperity might elude me as well, but right now I'm talking more about these other factors. Does that make sense to everybody? And David gives, as I pointed out before, a couple of specific examples. Bone conditions arise from this, and so does something like chronic fatigue. And it doesn't need to be only chronic fatigue. It can be just that kind of enervation that comes to you. Then he goes on and he says, in verses 5 and 6, I acknowledged my sin to you. I did not cover my iniquity. I said, I will confess my transgressions to the Lord, and you forgave the iniquity of my sin. You disemboweled my iniquity. You robbed it of its power. Therefore, as a result of that, let everyone who is godly offer prayer to you at a time when you may be found. Surely in the rush of great waters they shall not reach him. You are a hiding place for me. You preserve me from trouble. You surround me with shouts of deliverance. Selah. So he says, let everybody acknowledge. Again, and that acknowledgement is based on knowing or perception. You could even say it's a revelation of what was wrong and you didn't know it, but you've got to come to terms with the specific sins. This kind of peanut butter praying, oh God, forgive me for everything I've ever done wrong, that's not going to work for this one. We're going deeper here. This is the kind of freedom that we see in Acts chapter 19, where they bring all the amulets and magic books and they burn them, and Paul has a deliverance revival that breaks open the entire city of Ephesus. Because they're getting, and you know who would have known this is Paul, right? He's a Hebrew rabbi. Okay, so I'm not going to cover or conceal or hide my iniquity, and I'm going to deal with the root of sin, the rebellion and the revolt and the offense. This deals with our lukewarmness. And so all of that together releases the iniquity of sin. It disempowers it. And then he says this, an interesting statement, pray while you can. Now, it's not that your prayers can't work when the chips are down and the rising flood of waters is rushing around you, which is all the language out of verse 6. It's that when the chips are down, when your children are rebelling, when your husband or wife is leaving you or molesting the children, when you're finding out that you've got some weird disease that no one can cure, and all this stuff is coming up like kudzu, you're in a panic and you can hardly focus and center enough to say, oh God, I really need to get thorough here, and you may not even have time to do it. So what David is saying is take care of business now. Don't wait until things go bad. You can take care of it now, and you can live the blessed life. That's what David is saying. Because in the time of trial, the prayers won't reach God. Again, not that they cannot. It's just that you'll be in such a panic you won't be praying well, if you want to say it that way. But when iniquity is handled in particular, now remember, iniquity is what comes to you from your forefathers and mothers. Transgression and sin are what you are responsible for. But when that all gets dealt with, guess what? God becomes a hiding place. He becomes a stronghold for us, and we just shout the hallelujah. I've been delivered. I don't carry what my parents or grandparents carried.